That's interesting. I don't remember hearing that. Okay, so that lets everyone know this meeting is being recorded. All right, there we go. I guess that's a Zoom update. That's the first time I've heard that. Um, well, first of all, thank you all so much for being here today. Today, we're going to discuss chapters 6 through 10 of The Leader in Me. And it's hard at the end of the year to do anything really as a teacher outside of school. And then when we've asked you to read a book in a couple of weeks, that's challenging. So I appreciate all of y'all, getting in there and reading as much of this as you could possibly read before today. But the good thing about this book is it's something, you can go back and look at, different chapters during the summer and refresh. And I'm looking forward to doing that. I have had the opportunity to read the whole book, but I definitely want to go back and reread some sections and take some time to really think, about the chapters, because I think that's going to be real important with Leader in Me, moving forward, is just the reflection component. Just, thinking about not only at a higher level as far as like the school goes, but really getting into you personally. And so that's what I'm excited about, is diving, into there and really reflecting on how I can be better, because if I'm better, then I'm going to do better, here at school for the kids. So let's look at chapter 6. It's bringing it home. And so chapter 6 is about, engaging the parents, and that's been challenging this year. And I don't think that's just a Carver issue. I think that's a COVID, issue around the world, really, with engaging parents. It's definitely been challenging to make those connections. And I think we need to really work on that piece big time, when we can, and hopefully in August, things will have died down enough where we can really have parents in the building, because I do miss, having them here and being a part of the different activities and the fun things that we did. I mean, the handful of times we did have, like with Miss Crow, when she did her art, the special art project on Saturday there earlier in the year, we had a bunch of parents come up, and it was so great to have them be a part of that and participate. And I missed having, more of that this year. And so I'm looking forward to that for next year. And so I guess along those lines, in the book, the chapter, starts out by kind of asking us what are the benefits of some common language being used at school and home. So I'd kind of like to talk about that a little bit, just the common language aspect of it. Anyone have any thoughts on that? If not, I'll share mine.
To me, just having that common language at home and at school is giving them that consistency. I mean, if the parents and the students are using it at home, it just becomes natural. It becomes a part of who they are, rather than, oh, this is how I talk at home and this is how I talk at school.
Yes, I agree. Being consistent has been an issue, I think, just thinking about myself and then other things here at school. I think we've had issues of consistency. And so I think having this where we can be consistent with this common language will allow us all to be on the same page. Any other thoughts on common language?
I think if we can have a kickoff and, some kind of event where we get to tell parents that we're doing this, maybe bring them in for a fun event, like another tie-dye event, or, something that the kids are interested in, and then kind of having Mr. Woodley speak a little bit about it and direct people, to learn more, and I think that would be helpful. I also think it will give Mr. Woodley a really nice platform to talk about some tough topics with parents that maybe are not meeting, are having too many tardies, or are, we always get to that point where they've used up their amount of sick days and things that they can use. And then it's just like they get a letter home. But I'm just wondering, to take a more proactive approach, it may allow Mr. Woodley a time to kind of schedule a meeting with the classroom teacher and the parent and say, hey, you know, your child already knows some of these 7 habits, and how could you work at home implementing these to improve attendance? Or what can we do here at school to help you achieve these goals? And actually kind of set it as a goal that the child and the parent and us as teachers and Mr. Woodley as administration and, you know, even Ms. Deloney get involved to help them, you know, meet a goal that's going to help their students. So I just think it's a great common language to get everybody on board to improve.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. One thing we've talked about in the think tank is coming back, to school is having like a big bash at the beginning of the school, and having something, fun, and a way to introduce this to parents and to the kids as well. And when I had a chance to go to Chico on Tuesday, and the principal shared, let me grab this real quick and show you. She shared like a parent guide to the leader in me with me, and it goes through all the 7 habits plus a lot of information. And so, one thing that we could do with this is educate parents. And we were talking about, you have a small group of parents where we get together with them and we go through this, and they become, our evangelists that are out there to the other parents. And then hopefully that'd be like a snowball effect, to where it's kind of like with teachers, like, Mr. Woodley could tell you something, but really your colleagues have a little more weight sometimes with you than the principal does. Like, if I hear something from my, partner teacher here, a lot of times I'll take that into consideration more than maybe from someone else that doesn't know what we're going through. And so the parents can be, the same situation here. So I talked to Mr. Woodley about this, and he's planning on purchasing these for our school, along with, other things that will be helpful to introduce Leader in Me.
So can I add something about common language?
Please.
I think parents want a language. I think they want, after COVID, I think parents, I think teachers, I think students, we all want something new. And I think that this will help them out a lot with maybe different things that they're dealing with or struggling with their kids at home, because they do have struggles at home. And sometimes, people are ashamed to say at home what their kids are doing or not doing. And I honestly believe that this will not only help our kids, but I also think that it will also help their parents. And, doing some reflecting from within with parenting, with being more involved, because I think that most parents know that because of COVID, there are some gaps. There were already gaps, but the gap is even larger at this point. And I am convinced that people want something better for their kids. And with us involving them in this process and not just telling them what we're doing, but making them feel like they're a part of it, because we're all starting together, I think that it's going to be a beautiful thing for our school.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Any other thoughts on this before we move on to something else in this chapter I'd like to talk about?
I do want to throw out one thing, and I don't know if this, well, it's about parental involvement. Something I noticed this week, actually. So with the career week stuff, we wanted to get parents to send in their videos about their careers and things. I did not get a parent video. There was not one parent from Carver that sent in a video. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of reasons for that, and that's okay. But I sent out the flyer about the food boxes, and I got about 15 responses. And so that just gave, and which we know our students, and we know that their families struggle, but I feel like that was a very clear indicator of like, okay, what are the things that parents respond to? So just to kind of reflect on that. And so thankfully we were able to feed some families that are struggling in that area, but just throwing that out there for whatever.
No, that's good, Ms. Stafford. That's a good
Yeah.
reflection because, you know, we do have a lot of need, you know, not just with our parents. There's need actually, you know, among our staff too. And that's not something that a lot of folks know about. And it's not, of course you don't, I mean, it's not something that's talked about, but I was thinking about a situation, you know, I became aware of recently, and it made me really reflect and like, oh my goodness, you know, what are we doing to help each other out too? And there are some needs in that regard, you know, with people here at our school. And so, so we know we have this need. What are we going to do about it? I mean,
Can I think that when we do that block party, or whatever we do, even if we do it before, but prior to, that's why it's so necessary for us to do a needs assessment of our families that we serve. Because from a teacher perspective, we like to think that we know what to do, and most times we do, but we don't know the true needs of people and what they're dealing with personally. And when the relationship is not there, people are not as quick to share things, private things about themselves, out of fear of you judging them or out of fear of being judged. And so I think that if we it is vital that we put something in place to assess our parents so that next year we can provide those things that they need. So if parents need food, you know, if they need food, we can partner with I think it's called City Serve. Now, and I know
There's a lot of
Miles.
resources that Little Rock School District has
Yeah,
for a lot of those
yeah,
things. It's just very sporadic on
right,
the resources. We've kind of
right,
talked about this before, like one person doesn't know what the other person has.
right, right. But at the beginning, so like I mean, but like like I know this year several parents have mentioned to me that they've been in between households, like kids didn't have anywhere to live. And so those are things that we have to take into consideration when a kid is coming to your class sleepy, or when a kid is, you know, not doing their homework or whatever. But those are those, you know, discussions that I think that we need to have more of within our building, and making sure our parents know that we're also there to help them as well. Because if they're not okay, the kids are not okay.
that's true.
And that's just, and you know, and that's just that. If they don't feel comfortable, then 9 times out of 10, and the kids are worried about their parents. You know, not like they can do much, but they're concerned. So their mind is all, you know, it's typically in a whole nother place. But again, that is something that we have to be kind of proactive about, and not on the front end, and not reactive to it.
Yes. You know, it made me think of, you know, Mr. Woodley talking to us about our drop in enrollment. If we're actively, you know, seeking out to help people, help parents, help their children, help folks in our community, I think that will help some of that as well, because they're going to see that we're a school that cares. We do care about your child. We do care about you. We want to help you. We want to be a part of your life. We want you to be a part of our life. And I think if we have that type of attitude, hopefully some of the students who have or parents have chosen or choosing to send their kids to other schools will stop doing that.
I think if we made it really easy, accessibly to, I'm just thinking if on our website, we could make like Google Forms and then keep the link up where it just says like, I read in the book that they do food backpacks, like the students created food backpacks. So maybe if there was, the parent knew they were struggling, that they're a little food insecure for the month or whatever, they could, click on an icon, it links to a Google form. They say where they're struggling, I need food for, I'm looking for vegetables, or I'm looking for this or whatever, I don't care, whatever, and then a name and a phone number, and make it almost so easy that, there's no judgment, there's no shame. It's just, here's where I need a little help. And they fill out the form and, maybe someone gets back to them, confirms it, tells them, when to come and pick it up, gets them in contact with, one of these resources that LRSD has. But I feel like, until the synergy happens, until the interdependence happens, which will take time, that I think if before people feel comfortable reaching out to another human in this day and age, I think it is easier to just fill out a form and ask for help that way, and kind of get the ball rolling, get it into somebody else, like the tennis balls hit into somebody else's court that can then just supply the need and meet it.
That's a great idea, and that's something easy for me to do on our school website. That's doable, definitely.
Yeah, with the food bags that we have this year, we were able to give out 30 bags every week, but it's hard to know who to give those to, because there's some people that ask for it that may not need it. I mean, that happened. A teacher saw a student getting a bag and said, I know them, they do not need that. And then there were other students that definitely needed it, but their parent refused because of the pride or whatever. And so it's a really interesting game to try to get the resources to the right people. But it's going to take all of us having those conversations and figuring that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think once they see that hopefully that caring spirit, then they'll be more open to asking. I hope. Well, I'm going to move our conversation to one other kind of big topic. Well, one other thing that was mentioned in our Discord. So I'm gonna share my Discord screen with you. And Ms. Carter had pointed out that, question 5 says, what do the walls of your home communicate to family members and visitors? And Ms. Carter said, this gives something to think about. What do the walls of my home communicate? Pictures, quotes, goals. Having my personal goals posted have kept me motivated. Okay, Mr. Covey, I think you're onto something. So let's talk about that part a little bit. What does our school communicate to family members and visitors? Or what do we want it to communicate moving forward?
Ms. Carter.
Well, I was going to say at this year, I felt like the adults communicate more than the building, just because the parents couldn't get into the building, right? So I think that seeing people in carpool, seeing the same people, having your principal out there a lot in carpool, he talks about it, but I've worked at 5 schools and I've never seen a principal do car duty before Mr. Woodley. So it's something small, but it's something big that parents, I think, see. But I think that's what they've seen this year are the people. And the question is, how do they feel when they see the people? Are you happy? Are you mad that you had duty? Are you mad you had to suffer somebody? Are you running to the car because little Johnny had a bad day? Or are you running to the car to say, oh, they had a great day? So I think that that makes a difference. And right now, I think that on a scale of 1 being horrible and 10 being they feel great, I think they probably feel like 5 or 6. Not necessarily bad about bringing their kid, but not necessarily excited. So I think that that's something we need to consider. Like I was so excited, I keep talking about, but how the last day of school and parents so excited to see us cheering their baby, like that made my day. Like I know it made the kids' whole day, that they're going to be thinking about, this is how I left school on my last day. And, you know, I saw parents pulling their phones out because they wanted to video their kid, you know, getting cheered on the way to start the summer. So I think that makes a difference. And I think we could do better. I think we're kind of just mediocre, to me. I will say personally, like when I was reading that, I felt like I wanted to do more in terms of allowing my kids to have goals and have things posted up. Like last year, I did one for AR, and and whoever read the most books and had the most points, we would sneak in during lunch and we would decorate their desks, and they would come in and they would be the top reader for the week on Fridays. And I'm like, COVID kind of sucked the energy out of us this year. And I said to myself, well, I didn't do that. So how did they feel about their goals? And I did the same thing for myself. Not having things that I wanted to do visual to me, I didn't do it because I was scared or I was worried about not having time. And there are a few things that I posted on my bedroom wall, and it's halfway through the year and I've done a good bit of those. But I said to myself, if I didn't have that on my wall to look at every night before I lay down, would I be so motivated? And I'm thinking, what about if our kids saw their reading goals posted? What if they did see how many AR points, they have for the week, or what math skills they've conquered? So that's what it made me think about. And I was like, holy cow, it's something small, but it's so big. And I was talking about on the Discord, independent work binders. But I was just sitting here thinking, what if, even in kindergarten, if they did something as simple as tracking how many letters they recognized or how many sight words they knew, that how they would feel about, holy cow, I know 50 sight words, And I said that to one of my first graders, my Lauren, who can read 220 of them. And when I showed her, she was like, I read all of those? I'm like, yeah. So imagine if they could look at that. It's something small, but I was just impressed by thinking about that visual aspect of having it there. And that's something small we can do, guys. That doesn't take a lot for you to have something posted for kids to be able to see, how far they've come. So that was like a big, out of so far, a lot of the things that I've read, that's been like the biggest takeaway for me, is to make sure my kids know what their goals are for the year.
Yeah, that's important. We've chatted before in different circumstances where, a lot of kids just don't know what's going on. They get a grade and they're like, okay, well, I made a C, or maybe they don't even know what grade they got until, a lot of time passes. So keeping them informed will hopefully, light some fire under them and like, okay, I need to do a little bit better. I need to improve this. I need to get better. I want to be up here. I'm right here right now. What do I need to make that happen? So, and that empowers them. So I love that. That's awesome. Any other?
And I'm going to say, can I just say one more? And I'm going to be like, Mr. Craig, I'm going to be quiet.
No.
But sharing that with each other, Ms. Kroll gave me, I'm going to say it because Ms. Kroll gave me the confidence to say it about, when she was talking about the tea party, and had she known how much she would have done, because I know she would have, right? And I was very in my feelings about the little desk pits, right? Like nobody came to me and said look at what we're doing. You should try this. Like there are these great things going on in classrooms, like right next door, right across the hall, that all you have to do is shoot out an email and say, try this, or come to the door and say, look at what happened. And we don't, and I'm guilty of it, but we just have to make the effort to, if it works for you, you don't know who it's going to work for. Ms. Green shared an activity with me that she did on Earth Day, and I brought it to my kids. And when they walked down the fourth grade hallway and saw that, they said, we did that. And I said, yeah, you did a big fourth grade activity. And they were like, what? And I told Ms. Green, and that made her day, because she just shared an idea. It wasn't she just shared a fun Earth Day activity, but my kids felt like I'm doing something the big kids are doing. And I just think we need to do better, because we could be doing so much more. Like that was, I didn't realize the desk pet, they have a binder and they, you know, they can do data in that. That's something simple that I could have implemented in my room too. I just feel like we just need to do a better job of making sure we communicate that to everybody.
I don't know which chapter it was in, but it was talking about the hallway meetings, like a 2 or 3 minute like hallway meeting each morning. That could be really easy and could help solve some of those things. Like I'm putting out desk pets today, and what's that? And that could be good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw, oh, sorry, Mr. Craig.
go ahead. I talk too much.
I saw on it was page 219, and it relates to what Ms. Carter just said. It was like every time they had a staff meeting, they placed 7 minutes for 7 habits on their agenda. And it just made me think, Angelica, that like, I was like, wow, that 7 minutes is a long time. But if you just want to say desk pet, we can all kind of get the idea. But I thought 7 minutes for 7 habits, if it could be, you know, one person shares, 7 people share, they get 1 minute, you know, however it works out. Those would be, I would think, great times to put in to, you know, but I think you're right. They would have to maybe happen a little bit more frequently. But when we started the topic talking about the walls of the hallway, and I mean, COVID for art was really hard this year. I would have definitely been liking to do what I had done the first year and have a lot more art, but we had to make equitable art that the students at home could make with the kits. And I couldn't do really anything different because it wouldn't be fair. So next year, I know the art will go back to, you know, what my vision is of a school where kids get to put up all their art and love it. But one thing I saw was on page 214, I appreciate pictures in a book, and they had a picture of like a heart-shaped bulletin board. And inside of it was like the teacher's goals. I thought that was awesome. I would love to do something like that, because I think for many reasons, like for teachers like me that are teaching when other people have free time. So I can't leave to go find people because they're busy and I have their students. So it's like I'm the opposite of most teachers' schedules. And so it's it's hit or miss. It leaves me a little narrow windows of time to get the things I need to get done and go out and hunt people down and find them and have conversations with them. So I would love, the one that went up about like the Google form, about what we would do if we had another life, you know, I learned so many things about people. Like Mr. Murray wanted to be a chef. I mean, that's so cool. So I just took time to read those, and I felt connected, even though I didn't get a chance to chat everybody up about it, just by reading that. So I think if you saw a goal that somebody is working on, it also gives a nice little thing to bring up in conversation, to make the most of an interaction where it's just not the weather and how's your day going, you know? So I like it brings an opportunity to kind of cut to a higher level of conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, I never knew Mr. Braggs wanted to be a stand-up comic. I mean, that was awesome to read that out there, you know, on his. But Ms. Crow, I wanted to share, you know, I got to go to Chico on Tuesday and walk around the school and take pictures and stuff. So I want to share a couple of things since we're talking about this. And when I was walking around the school, you popped into my head all the time when I saw all this artwork, because they have all their artwork is like tied in to Leader in Me. I mean, a lot of it is. And so I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I'm just going to flip through a couple of these, some pictures, and it'll be beneficial, I think, for all of us to look at. So hopefully you can see these. So when you first go in the building, they have a mural that says "Welcome to Chico," and all these little buildings have names associated with them. I know you can't see them, but that tie into Leader in Me. You know, they have signs and everything, you know, around the building, and everything hits you in the face. You know, this is Leader in Me. Everywhere you go, there's signage. You know exactly, you know, what's going on. Their art teacher created this mural, and you know, these are the 7 habits that are right here from, you know, from the those ones that we work on ourselves all the way up to the top. And you know, they have bulletin boards that showcase all of this. But this is something that the art teacher did, you know, be a leader, and they created these bees at this grade level. We, let me see, they had Derek Barnes visit, and he's the author of I Am Every Good Thing. And in art, they created these self-portraits, and they named them, you know, I'm a leader. These smaller ones that you may not be able to say, it says, I am loved, I am brave, I'm powerful. Oh, where'd it go? Where'd my screen go? Do y'all still see my screen? What happened to my screen? Oh, there it is. Okay, all right. Let's see, I have another picture or two. Well, they have a lot of goals and things set up, like what we were talking about. And you know, these are things that I definitely think that we, you know, we need to implement, and we're talking about, you know, how to make that happen. And you know, one thing Ms. Stafford suggested was they have this huge calendar, and we're going to plan to get one and put this in a teacher's lounge so that everyone's up to date on what's happening. No one's left out, you know, of different events and things. But anyway, I wanted to share, you know, some of those pictures with you, because when I walked around the building, their art teacher is like gung-ho, you know, for Leader in Me. So everywhere you go, it's just all the artwork's tied to Leader in Me. And I'm like, that's Miss Kroll. They've got a Miss Kroll over there. So well,
I'll have to reach out to whomever that is and see if I can sit down with her this summer and get some good ideas. But I was planning the exact same thing. I want every project that, well, at least every time I introduce a new concept to be a Leader in Me project. So that's good.
Yeah, get with her. I don't know her, but she's definitely on top of it over there. I mean, for sure. Well, let's move on to I guess our next chapter.
And Mr. Prater, really quick,
Oh,
Miss,
I'm sorry.
that was Miss Jeffries. I was trying to watch the chat, put
Oh,
something
thank you.
about the data walls. So I don't know if you wanted to mention something about what the principal shared about the data walls.
Sure. Let me pull that back up so y'all can see the pictures again. Okay. So, all right. I'm sorry, let me get to the very beginning here. Well, why don't I just briefly talk about this? I mean, I won't go over the signage, but do know, you know, we're working on figuring out how to make this happen at Carver, because we want, when the kids walk in the building in August, we want it to be different. And so having these signs up, we can't do everything. You know, they've been doing it for 4 years. Okay, so we can't have murals on every single wall, but we can have some things, you know, and we can build, and we can you know, ramp up, you know, to this, you know, this year and next year, and you know, throughout the year, you know. But we definitely want to have some stuff like this up when kids enter the building. And, you know, saying that's one thing, but I'm saying we're going to do it. You know, we're putting action behind it. We're already making plans for this. Mr. Woodley's behind it. For those of you, you know, who, you know, weren't here today, we had a meeting, and he was involved. It was like an hour and a half, and we went through all of this. He's behind us 150%. He's excited about it, and he's ready, you know, to make this happen in August. So it's very, very encouraging. And I just want everyone to know that. They, outside each teacher's room, they have like this cork board, and on it, they have their personal goals. So these are just goals, like this teacher's goal says, I plan to exercise 30 minutes, 3 to 5 days weekly. And the stickers on the chart, they put a sticker on there when they achieve their goal. So if she went and worked out that day, she puts a sticker on there. This other teacher, her goal was to walk around the park with her daughter 3 days a week to get exercise. And if they achieve the goal, they put a sticker on there. So your own personal goals are listed there. Also, they also have classroom goals and mission statements, class mission statements that are inside the rooms. And I'll share one of those in just a minute. The leader that you see up there, you see one that says leader and one that says lead. Their goal is to like get one of these letters to spell the word leader throughout the course of the 9 weeks. And they get caught doing good by, folks around the building. So like if they went to Miss Crow's class and they had an awesome art class, maybe Miss Crow writes them a little note, and then they put that up on the board and they get a letter because of that. And then they get something special, at the end of the 9 weeks for getting those 6 letters. There's the teachers have their own personal mission statements all over the place. We've got, what you see here, these bulletin boards. Each grade level has a bulletin board, and their big goal this year was increasing their literacy scores. And so each individual car is associated with a student. And so the students' names aren't on there. They have numbers. They have a code, on there where the kid knows which car is his or hers, but no one else does. And so they're able to see kind of where they're at, where they need to be. It's plastered there on the wall for them. Hopefully it's used as a motivational tool to get them, to where they need to be. And so each grade level has a different theme. This one, was race cars. They have this one I thought would be appropriate here, shoot for the stars with the rocket ship. They've got the you're on target, aiming high, climbing to our wigs. You've got the little, mountain climbers that are trying to get there to the top. So each grade level has a certain theme that they're working on. This was, we'll go over this. This was a book. Well, I will go over this because y'all are interested in this stuff. They do morning meetings as well. And during their morning meeting is a time for them to teach the leader in me. And so this book, which Mr. Woodley said he's going to get, is the teacher's edition. And the kids have a book as well. And this will be great for us to use during, 10, 15 minutes of morning meeting time to like go over the leader and me. And they have different scenarios that are brought about, like on this page, it says bullying, cheating on tests, coming to school sick, competitiveness, cutting in line. All of these have, different scenarios, things that you can talk about, videos that go with them as well. It's just a complete package. It's not something we're going to have to go out and like create for our meetings. It's done. It's right here. And so this is the kids book, and each grade level, that says level 5. So each grade level has a different book with different things in it, so that they're not getting the same thing every year, as they move up. And this would be their book to work through, during that morning meeting time, which is really cool. Like I said, this is in the principal's office, but we're wanting to put this in the teacher's lounge so that, everyone's abreast of what's going on. They have a year at a glance calendar. We've got a team that's beginning work on this right now, so that we at least have an outline of what's going to happen next year. This is a front office. They have the 7 habits, they just have it everywhere. It's all over the place. You can't get away from it. Each class has a mission statement. Each classroom has jobs that they do. So that's what you see here. This is inside of a teacher's room. And so, you've got the street sweeper, you've got, tech support, you've got, all kinds of, and these jobs change monthly. So, and they have to fill an application out to get the job. And then the person who had the job beforehand teaches the new person, do the job. So the teacher just has to do this one time, go through it all. And then from then they're the leaders and they teach, the next person who has the job. And then this is this is like right around the corner. As soon as you walk in the school, this is like their school goal. And WIGs, we know stand for wildly important goals, and their school goal deals with literacy. And the rainbow colors you see there are kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade. And then black mark is the overall school percentage. But they post that so everyone knows where you're at. So, each time you take this, this is the spring NWEA, we know, okay, well, kindergarten, first and second, they're doing pretty good here, but what's going on in third grade? So, we're held accountable. And this is something Mr. Woodley is going to do, next year. He's wanting to hold us accountable for the data that I guess is attached, to our grade levels and to us and to all of us. We're all a part of this. And so it's a way for them to see that, it's just in their mind all the time, the goals. And anytime, if you've set personal goals and stuff like Ms. Carter was talking about, you've got to have those in front of you. They have to be written down. They have to be, it has to be concrete, because you can talk about stuff all day, but until you actually like when I like my running stuff, I have a schedule. I have to follow it. If I don't have it, then it's like, well, it's too hot outside. I'm not going to run today, And so it's like, I'm just not going to do it. But if I'm training for a marathon, I have to meet these goals or I'm not going to be able to, finish the race. And so I love the idea of having goals that we're working toward, whether they're personal goals, academic goals, or just becoming a better person, go.
I had a quick question.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
The student books, are those consumable or are they reusable each year?
They look consumable to me. Yeah, it'd be something you have to purchase. Their school, they've got a large school. They've got like 700 or 800 kids that go to this school. So, and she told me it costs them like $5,000, I think, for the books. So our cost wouldn't be near that high, but that'll give you an idea of what they cost. But Mr. Woodley said he's good with buying them. He already said that. So
one challenge that I'm very cognizant of that we have going on at our school is we have a lack of wall space. So it's like we have big murals up already on some of our walls that, would be a travesty to cover up because they're gorgeous. And then in the hallways, there's like the strips. So, and then I was thinking in the staff room with the logistics of the calendars, I love a calendar. I'm a calendar girl, but I just thought, hey there, like, where do we even put those calendars in our staff room?
My idea for where we would place it, Ms. Kroll, would be, we've got our mailboxes and stuff there on, when you walk into the left, but then right there to the right, there's a space. There's stuff there, but we just, we'll
have to take that down. Because it's a big logistic. Like I'll walk around the school with tons of art that I love to hang up that first year, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to hang this from the ceiling because there's just not a lot of space. So as we move forward, I'm sure we'll cross these bridges when we come to them, because and it is, I always hesitate of hanging too, because I am really aware that if the teachers are producing things in their classroom that they would like to show off, I kind of feel bad taking that space, but no one's going to see it if it goes in the art room. And I have the same problem in the art room too. So that'll just have to be something that we really consider, is where physically we're going to put these things. And we might need to invest in some more bulletin boards that we might be able to kind of drill in with some masonry screws in the concrete walls, but we can cross that bridge when we come to it.
It's funny because Miss Jeffries and I were just talking about that last week about how, we needed like bulletin boards or whatever, so that more student work could be like displayed outside of the classrooms, or, just to decorate, something to make, I guess, like eye candy for the students,
Yeah,
and it's just, I was gonna say in the chat, all of the classroom teachers are going, we don't mind you taking up space, and we don't. Like, I love sharing the wall with you, because then we see, like, if everybody in primary, they're making birds, and then we get to put our work up next to their, and you always do it where it's like that particular class. So next to my project that we did in class are also the birds and activities they did in art. So all the classroom teachers said, we don't mind. We don't mind sharing the wall space with you. And the other thing, Mr. Craddy, you were talking about the data walls that Ms. Jeffries and Ms. Stewart were talking about exactly what Mr. Woodley said about using it for NWEA growth. I'm glad you ladies said that. That's exactly what Mr. Woodley said this morning, that he knows we're going to be year one into this and that most schools pick something simple to start out with. But his vision for us is to pick something as a school that we can use, something to grow like communication or relationships, but also keeping that data piece in mind. And I think we could do both. I mean, we're teaching anyway, and he's hoping that what we're doing will impact our teaching, of course, but he also wants us to keep in mind that we are still accountable for the data and for student growth. So I'm glad you guys said that. That's exactly what he said this morning. And we were talking at the last Zoom meeting about exactly that. Like, it's not going to take much for us to get together grade level wise and make sure we have these data walls for each grade level. And I'm pretty sure, I think we talked about this morning too, but I don't think it'll be a problem too to get more bulletin boards. Maybe that's something that we could talk to Mr. Woodley via Mr. Murray, because Ms. Morgan mentioned all these schools closing. So instead of him having to buy them, like, where are all these bulletin boards going from all these schools that are closing? So that's something, I'll mention that. I'll email Mr. Murray and ask him about that too.
That's great. That's great. Well, let's move on to the next chapter, engaging the community, chapter 7. And well, in the Discord, I remember Miss Stewart had brought up, she had made a comment about Donnie Lane. And, if you've had a chance to get to that chapter, the second question says, do we have a Donnie Lane in our community? And I liked what Ms. Stewart said. She said, I'm not sure we have a Donnie in our community, but I'm excited about our new partnership with Falcon Jet. And hopefully there is a Donnie Lane within the company. Donnie's enthusiasm to get the LIM out to not just Leader and Me out to not just his children's school, but to all the Decatur schools was very inspirational. Perhaps building Carver up starts with us letting the community know more about us. What are your thoughts there? Ms. Stewart?
I think I said all I needed to say there. but I'm meeting them earlier this week was like just awesome. Like, I was like, it was just so heartwarming because they were so personable, not only just with me, but with the kids. I mean, and I know the kids were excited about the snow cones, but the interaction, because they really haven't been having a lot of social interaction, so it was just a fun time. And it just made me even more, like I said, excited about working with them and seeing them on the playground with the kids. And I'm like, they're in our backyard, literally. So I'm just excited about it. And like I said, hopefully there is a Donnie Lane. Hopefully if they have friends with kids or kids who are, age appropriate for our school, maybe they'll think about, sending them over. So just fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I think the Donnie Lanes will emerge once they start, seeing what the change that's happening. And I think
right.
It's just it's like this, once you get it started, once you build it, then they will come, And so I think once we do this, finding that Donnie Lane will be a lot easier than it is right now.
And there was something else that back to the goals. I think Ms. Stone was saying, if we did literacy for our WIG, we could show that growth, not just through NWEA, but also through Accelerated Reader. And Lexia, we could easily track. And back to now chapter 7 with the community, like that's something that we could ask of them. Like at the end of every 9 weeks, can they come and do something special for the kids that met their goal? Maybe they met their AR goal for the 9 weeks, or they showed growth on the NWEA, and they can donate something or just come out and give them a book or a bookmark or something if they hit their goals. That's another way to bring them back in, because that's what Mr. Woodley mentioned, that they just want to know how they can help. So all we need to do is give them things that we need, and he said that they were ready.
Right. That's awesome. I was when I was talking with him yesterday, also he mentioned about him wanting them to come over and mentor the students, not just coming every quarter or when there was time to celebrate. He wanted some of them. I know you guys remember the Big Brother, Big Sister program. So just kind of somewhere in that aspect. And I think that'll be wonderful, especially for our boys. That would be awesome.
Yeah, who knows? If they do really well, they may take them up in a jet. All right, I'm making a joke. It didn't go well. All right, so let me share the screen because there's another great quote here from Miss Kroll, and she said on page 160, Mr. Chang, you told us about the good things we are doing at our school, but what about the deltas? You know, the things we need to do better. The passage goes on to say the young man was totally serious. He sincerely wanted to know how they could improve the school. He spoke as though he was one of the leaders of the school who could potentially enact the changes. And the great thing is that he was, as were all the students at A.B. Combs, they are all leaders and are all taking ownership for the school. Idea, create simple icons for the 7 habits. So I'm guessing that's an art idea on your part, Ms. Crow, or I'm
Well,
curious
uh,
about that.
yeah, well, it came because I was like deltas, and then I'm like, oh, delta, like in like the triangle, like
Yep.
in the Greek alphabet, and that is the symbol, like in math problems for change. So
Yes.
it's like, aha, I totally get that. And it had been a while because Mrs. Kroll doesn't teach high math, so I was like,
Not
all
that.
right. So I thought, and then it made me think, like, we have students that are reluctant readers, and they, you know, they're working on it, and they may take longer than others, but I feel like I don't want to leave them out of what our signage says just because they may not be at a point where they can read all of the words. So I was thinking if we could, and the whole generation is now an icon generation. Like, you show them an iPad, and like even a 2-year-old is like Coco Melon, you know, like they magically know what that is. So I was just thinking, if we use the same verbiage, which we're using the same language, if we can associate for our pre-K and K and first graders who are coming into reading skills, an icon that signifies each one of the habits, and then just like the delta triangle as a symbol of, you know, even if it's just on the board, what could we change here? What's a change? And just when they see that symbol, you know, we'll tell them that it means change, and hopefully they'll get it, and we keep on reinforcing it. That will just be a symbol. We don't have to go into what we're needing. They'll see that and they'll say, here's something that goes under that category. So that was my icon idea.
I like it. It makes a lot of sense. What I like about that, you know, example with the kid is, you know, they're a good school, you know, and they got it going on. They created this whole thing, and so they're, you know, he's used to getting praise from people. They're getting it, but he wants to know, what can we do better? What is it that we need to change? You know, what are we, you know, weak at? And that just showed so much leadership to me, because you don't hear adults saying that typically. So that's, I'd love to get to that point with our students where they're like, we praise them all the time. We want to just even go to the next level, you know, just even step it up even more. So, sorry, someone was knocking, I thought.
Or even just the staff to be comfortable with that self-reflection, to admit, you know, it kind of goes to the growth mindset book. Like, this is great, but what can we do better? You know, like, let's celebrate where our glows, all the things we're glowing about, but then also say, here's where we need to grow a bit, and treat them as one and the same.
Yes, because it's moving us forward. And it glows and grows move you. Like, that's what moves you. And so you're moving with the glows, you'll move even more with the grows. So I like that. Anything else in this chapter before we move on? Okay, chapter 8 was about secondary. And I know when I first looked at that, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to skip this chapter because, you know, I'm not secondary. I don't ever plan to be in secondary. But I didn't. I read it, and, you know, there were a couple things that really stood out to me in that chapter. I liked on page, let's see, what was it? On page 195, there's a quote. It says, if you tell them, speaking of students, what to do and how to do it, they become workers. If you identify a need and give them responsibility and get out of their way, they become leaders. And that was a quote that really stood out to me. Because, you know, we all grew up, I mean, I assume most of us, our education were similar in that, you know, the teacher told you to do it this way, you did it that way, you got your A. If you wanted to be weird and do some other kind of way, you got an F usually, or you got reprimanded by the teacher because that's not the way to do it. This is the way to do it. And we grew up that way. And so growing up that way, going through school that way, it's hard to change that mindset because that's ingrained in us and that's how we learned. And that's how, you know, that's how their parents learned, you know, a lot. And so, but you're not going to become a leader if you're always just waiting for somebody to tell you what to do. And that's not the world we live in today. We live in a world where you have to make these decisions, and companies want to hire people not to tell them what to do, but for them to figure out and solve these problems that they have. And so that really stood out to me as a powerful quote in this chapter.
And Ms. Stone shared that she thought it was powerful that the older kids were wanting leadership roles. They didn't just want, they didn't like that only elementary students were given the chances to be leaders.
Yes. Yeah. Ms. Stone also, if I remember right, she had something really good to say in the Discord. So let me pull this up. And Ms. Stone, maybe, I don't know if you're able to talk or not, but maybe you can elaborate in the chat. She said, I love the pictures. I also really enjoyed Jared's story. How many Jareds do we have? Quote on page 196. If you identify a need, give them responsibility and get out of their way, they become leaders. That's kind of talking what we were just talking about. Students like to be problem solvers. I think the hardest part for me will be to get out of their way. I like the idea of making a bulletin board per grade level, maybe. Love the signs. I also think these need to come from the students. I know we did their cutouts. How do we plan to use those next year in the decor? Okay, so there's some different things in there, but the hardest part is getting out of their way. Ms. Stone, do you have anything to add to that, if you're able to?
I just think as teachers, like that's going to be the hardest part, getting out of their way and letting them take that leadership, because we are so used to being the leader that sure, we can give it to another adult, but it almost feels like they're taking over in a sense. And that's something that we have, I guess, been against. You know, I've said it, you're not going to run my room, you know, but we want them to run our room. I mean, it in a positive way.
Yes.
Rather than telling each other what to do with the negative connotation that we hear. I mean, that is essentially what we're trying to do. And that's a huge shift from everything we've been doing.
That's a good point. It's hard to get out of our own way sometimes, much less kids.
I do think as a school, our language is very authoritative. We just want them to adhere to what we say, which is true because we do, but it will be a language change for sure.
I agree. And one other thing that stood out to me in this chapter relates to what we were just talking about on page 189. It says, in our school, students have 3 teachers: their parents, our staff, and our physical environment. From what we put on our wall, students will be taught, if only subconsciously. So that kind of relates to what we were just talking about. Well, any other thoughts on chapter 8? Chapter 9, let's continue. Keeping it alive is this chapter. Best practices for how to launch and sustain the leader in me over time. So chapter 9. Oh, on this chapter, I really liked, I want to share my screen so you can see this image. That image right there. That is the A.B. Combs Schoolhouse Model. And inside, and let me read the quote and then I'll pull the image back up. It says, we incorporate a lot of programs and practices, windows, and will change as things in our district, in our state, and in the field of education. But what will not change is the foundation of our schoolhouse and the constancy of our purpose. Principles will provide a lasting foundation for change wherever a student chooses to go in life. And so what I like, their foundation are those 7 habits and the quality principles. And if you look in the window, you've got the rigor, relevance, and relationships. You've got the essential 55. They're doing some Ron Clark stuff there. You've got the 7 correlates of effective schools. You've got PLCs, which are things that we've done. So essential 55, rigor, relevance, and relationships. We've done this in the past. PLCs we're currently doing. Brain research, that's in lots of what we do, hopefully. And emotional intelligence, that's been a big push as well. So many of these things that are inside what they consider their core, model are things we've done. I mean, are things we've been exposed to at least. So that really excited me when I saw that, because I'm like, okay, we've incorporated a lot of this stuff. So this is something that we have experience in. We're going to add the 7 habits to it. And we have the potential, to be this, A.B. Combs. So that made me excited when I saw that picture.
I like the icon on page 211. I picture Mr. Willie's face on the little man, right? Like, we want so badly for our leader to go, this is what I want you to do, and this is how I want you to do it, and I need you to do it. And he is the type that he is trusting us to do things, and he's going, tell me what you want to do, and we're going to make it happen. And I just pictured him like, you can't have one person trying to shift the whole school. And I'm looking at the image going, holy cow, that's asking one person to be responsible for a complete transformation of the school. And you see that little circle weighing him down, like one person can't do that. So I'm really excited about how we're doing it. Like, we're getting together, we're planning, we're going, hey, Mr. Woolley, what do you think about this? Are you okay with this? And we go, right. And then you have everybody else. But I was like, that's Mr. Woodley. We can't let him try to do it by himself. That's the first thing I thought about when I saw that image. Yeah.
But if we're going to go back to emojis, like Miss was talking about, you can put the frown face on that one, and then we can be happy with this one.
Everybody, yeah.
Everyone's working together. That's what it's going to take to move the school, for sure.
And sadly, right now, I just feel like I'm in a really safe place because we're all the same people. So it's like Mr. Woodley plus everyone in this Zoom. That's like, we're all have frowny faces.
Well, see, that's our challenge. That's our challenge, Ms. Crow, is to get more folks on. And I think I truly believe that everyone wants to be a part of this. I do. And there may be some people here or there that don't, but I really think we've got the staff, we've got the folks to make this happen. We don't have to go out and, find some superstar and come in here to make this happen. We've got the people. It's just getting it organized and getting all those people, on that right side of that balance, wherever it's at now, getting us all right there together. When we get all together, we're going to be able to do it. And our problem is we haven't been together. That's our biggest problem. And I'm truly hopeful that this brings us together. Okay. Any other thoughts about any cool pictures or any quotes from chapter 9? One thing I did like was about the phone system that they have. I think I put that in the Discord too. At their school, instead of the principal or the secretary leaving like the voicemail, that each week they have a new student come up and then they read the script. And so the kid just can't wait, to be picked to be the person that whenever, someone calls a school and no one's there, it goes to voicemail, they hear the kid doing the script. And so I love, that idea of picking a student of the week to come up to the office and record that message. But, on our end, I don't know how that works as far as the phone system goes, but, when call outs and stuff go home, instead of hearing Pamela Smith or Mr. Woodley, we could have a kid, they just read the script and do it. And it could, that'd be, to me, I think that'd be pretty cool. Because the script, I don't have it written down. It's on page 220 is where this is at. And so the script reads, "Hi, this is blank. I'm a leader at Carver Magnet Elementary. It is now after hours. Please call back between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. and make it a great day." It says students live for the chance to be voice of the week and work hard to practice their diction and public speaking skills so they can do it right. So
That's cute. I was thinking like maybe like with that script, of course, tweak it to, our building, but if the child could like state his or hers grade level, because sometimes we have kindergartners and first graders who are reading at 4th and 5th grade level. And so I just think that'll be exciting if, someone calls and is like, "Hi, this is Bria. I'm a kindergarten at Carver. We are blah, blah, blah." And so I think they'll be in awe about that. Like, this 5-year-old can, read this, or say, it speaks so well, blah, 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 whatever.
And you never know, on the other end of that phone may be Donnie Lane. I mean, just saying, could happen. All right, well, let's go to the last chapter unless anyone has any other thoughts on 9.
I just had a question about who chooses, like the kids that do the announcements, like whoever's doing that for the day. If there's an announcement for the week, then they could be the person responsible, so that I was just wondering how those kids were chosen to do the announcement.
I had another thought about that too. Like, how they do the Powerball, the balls are in there rolling around and they just pick a random ball. What if we put the kids' names in like a drawing like that, and just like let them know a day or a week ahead of time, hey, next week you will be doing such and such. That way that they're prepared and they're excited all week and they get to share with their family and friends and such.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. We have a lottery on Friday. We have a lottery. All pop around. The kid's name pops out. Mr. Woodley pulls it out, announces it, over the intercom, makes a big deal out of it. They come down there, get their little script they can read on the weekend, practice. Like, that's awesome. I love that idea. A gold star for Miss Stewart. All right. Okay, last chapter 10. Thank y'all. We've been on here for an hour. I appreciate it. But let's talk about this a little bit. Ending with the beginning in mind is the title of this chapter. And I like the quote on page 244. It says, "The more the leader in me is viewed as not one more thing and as a better way of doing what we are already doing, the easier and longer lasting will be the implementation." So this is going to be new. I mean, it is going to be new, and there will be a lot for us to do, but hopefully this will come across to everyone as a better way than what we've done in the past. And it will be, yes, it is sort of one more thing, one big thing that we're going to have to implement this year. But as the years go by, this just becomes so much easier. And it's like anything you try new for the first time, the more you do it, the better you get at it. But hopefully this isn't seen as one more thing I have to do. I don't know. What is your perspective on this? Do you feel like this is one more thing? I mean, do you feel like people are looking at this in a negative way?
I think, like, yes, this is one more thing, but the vibes that I'm getting, I feel like I'm getting positive vibes, and that people are like excited about this and about, wanting to change and make Carver better than what it is. The thing is, though, is we are going to have to let go of the past of what Carver used to be and make Carver, what we want it to be, and or for it to look like in the future. Like, we're just gonna have to let some things go, even some of our rules, just set some new standards for our building, basically. But I'm excited about it. I say for me, I feel like it's going to take us at least a year and a half to 2 years to just get comfortable and everything set in stone. And then from there, I mean, it's just like takeoff.
Ms. Stone mentioned it will be a lot at first for sure, but I think it's important to remember we will never be done. It will be continued growth. And that's something, and I don't remember if I saw it on a Zoom or read it, but that it's a process, not a program, right? Like this is not something you buy and fixes your school, but this is something that gives you the tools to do better. And Mr. Crater made a comment this morning about he wants kids to feel the difference when they come back. Like he wants them to be able to walk in the building and go, oh my gosh, like this is Carver now. And I'm with that. I am solely willing to give up the time to do it because I feel like that's what I want. And I keep telling people, like, I've looked at this as a teacher and now I'm looking at it as a parent. And my kid's gonna be here in the fall and I want him to come into the building and be so excited to be here that he's not crying about missing his daycare teacher, that he's just happy to be walking up and down these hallways. And so I agree with you. I think it's going to take some time, but I like what Ms. Stone said. We will never be done. We will continue to find ways to grow our school.
Yeah, because I liked how the teachers, along with their spouses and friends and community or whatever, took the time out of their summer just to, beautify the school. So when the students entered, they were just like in awe, and I'm sure they like just felt pumped about the school year. So I mean, your environment, changes your mood. I think as adults, we know that. So I think, just beautifying the school, painting the walls, pinning up pictures where they can relate would be awesome for them.
This is Latoya Morgan. And I'm gonna show you my face on this part because I came back to my desk. But I think that most people are on board, but and so we're doing the work that we have to do first internally, and that begins with each one of us. And then I think that it will kind of catch on with our kids, and but because what we're doing is not working. And if you want great people to continue to enjoy what they do, we have to do something different, or else I think you're going to see a flight where people are going to start leaving this building. And then Carver is really going to be in trouble when that occurs. And so, and to be honest with you, like our jobs on the line. And so I'm not trying to, I know personally, I'm not trying to get a new job in the middle of on the end of a pandemic. I'm not trying to move all these boxes and all this stuff again. And honestly, I desire to work in an environment where everyone around me is passionate about children. And I feel like, honestly, I found that environment where people are passionate about children, and it's just a matter of us coming together on one accord and making it happen. And I can foresee in 5 years someone will be calling us to ask us, hey, what did you do? And we'll be sharing our story.
Ms. Stone was mentioning something, Mr. Crater, that she put in the Discord, that we could adopt the what to keep doing, stop doing, and start doing concept for next year. We are doing great things. We should keep doing them. We are doing things we need to stop doing. We will have to be honest with ourselves here, and there are lots of things to start doing, but I think we need to narrow it down. Maybe we could reflect on these 3 and share our ideas next week.
That's great. Yes. Reflection is going to be a big part of us moving forward and making those necessary adjustments there may be things, you know, we have to let go that maybe mean a lot to you personally, but you've got to let that go so that we as a group can move forward. So yes.
And Mr. Woodley also mentioned this morning, you know, if you know Stephen Covey, you know, he has the other book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So Mr. Woodley shared that he does want to purchase those for us also, just as a staff, for us to do the work. We're reading about what it takes for kids and to transform the school, but that he wants to purchase those books as well, so that we can have, you know, almost a building-wide book study also next year as we're starting this process, so we can kind of focus on how we are personally implementing the 7 habits.
The last thing I would like to mention from chapter 10 that really spoke to me, and you know, I just like, wow, this is why we do what we do. It's at the bottom of page 246 is where it starts. And I'm just going to read this because it really meant a lot to me. And, you know, well, maybe we can talk about a little bit. Sean Maggio, 5th grade teacher at A.B. Combs, has been one of the teachers to make the entire journey with Muriel from the beginning. Yet still, she did not anticipate what occurred just prior to this book going to press. She was teaching a group of 15 students about timelines. Each was to make his or her own timeline and to place on it 8 events from their young lives that they felt were most important. She made no suggestions as to what they should choose, and there was no discussion as the students went about their assignments. When the timelines were completed, Sean asked the students to identify the one event that they saw as most impactful. When all was done, and again with no discussion or prompting, 8 of the students had chosen attending A.B. Combs as their top life event. Sean was stunned. Sean asked the students why. Why did they choose A.B. Combs as their top life event? In essence, they said they loved the environment, like what Ms. Stewart was talking about. They loved being viewed as leaders. For some, it was the first time someone believed in them. They felt valued. Their expressions were deeply sincere. They had each felt the individual attention, their personal worth. Sean said she wanted to cry. Then one of the students described how he had moved to A.B. Combs from another school. My other school was all about reading, writing, and math. Here, it's about so much more. It's about how you treat people and what you do with your life. He went on about the difference it had meant for him. At that point, Sean grabbed a tissue and faked a sneeze. Her emotions were tender. She felt that over the years, she had contributed a small part to what these children were saying. She felt validated as a teacher. She and the other teachers at A.B. Combs were indeed making a difference in these students' lives, one child at a time. That meant a lot to me because that's why I'm a teacher, and that's why you're a teacher. You want to make impacts on kids. And when, you know, over half the kids were saying the most important thing in their young life at that point was attending the school, that lets you know, they're doing something powerful. And that's what I want to be a part of. And that's what I think we're going to have. That's what's going to happen here at Carver. So I'm excited to be on this journey with you all. I appreciate you giving up, you know, your first day off here, you know, an hour and a half here on your first day off to chat with us. Does anyone want to say anything before we close out?
What's the song that's like, nothing's gonna stop us now, or something? The song's like in my mind. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, we got it.
Yeah. All right. So I expect you to sing that on our back to school day. All right. Practice that, Ms. Stafford. And then when we have our back to school bash, we'll have
We
you.
definitely need a theme song.
Yes.
Definitely need a theme.
Yeah. Well, we saw what, you know, Ms. Stewart, with your I Survived. That was awesome. I mean, you grabbed that. That was a wonderful theme song for our retirement. That was perfect. So maybe between you and Ms. Stafford, y'all can get one for us for coming back to school.
You know, outside on the last day of school, the conversation was, we are family, because that's how they felt while standing out there cheering for the kids on their way out. And I heard 2 or 3 teachers go, yeah, we are family. We need to play that when they come back, so they feel like they're a part of the Carver family. I thought
That's perfect.
So Miss Stewart, however you want to set that up.
Looks like you got several options there, you know. Ms. Yarbrough's put in the chat, we'll build this dream together, stand this strong forever. Nothing's going to stop us now. So she's got our lyrics in there for us. So, I hope all of you enjoy your first week.
I know those lyrics.
You know those lyrics? Well, let's hear something right now.
No.
Well, thank you all for being a part of this. I hope you all have a great summer. I think we want to continue this conversation, you know, at some point during the summer. And so maybe we'll have like a little refresh at some point and just talk about, because I don't think everyone's had a chance to read the book yet. And so I'd love to get everyone involved in having a nice conversation about this, maybe a little bit later in the summer. But I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day, a great weekend and Memorial Day. And I can't wait to get back here working with y'all ASAP to do great things.
All right, have a good one, everyone.
All right. See ya.